Bonjour mes amis, cette fois nous allons commencer avec un peu plus d'histoire. This time we're going to start with a bit more history. Now that you know some about 18th and 19th century France, we're going to look at the situation in France just before World War II. Vichy France, or the Vichy regime, are common terms used to describe the government of France from July 1940 to August 1944. This government was proclaimed by Marshal Philippe Pétain following the military defeat of France by Nazi Germany during World War II. The Vichy regime maintained some legal authority in the northern zone of France, which was occupied by the Germans, but Vichy laws only applied where they didn't contradict German ones. This meant that where the regime was most powerful was the unoccupied southern free zone, where its administrative center of Vichy was located. Pétain and the Vichy regime willfully collaborated with the German occupation to a high degree. The French police and the state militia organized raids to capture Jews and others considered undesirables by the Germans in both the northern and southern zones. The legitimacy of Vichy France in Pétain's leadership was challenged by General Charles de Gaulle, who claimed instead to represent the legitimacy and continuity of the French government. Following the Allies' invasion of France, de Gaulle proclaimed the Provisional Government of the French Republic in June 1944. This government was recognized as the legitimate government of France by the Allies on October 23, 1944. So, that was the situation in France during World War II. But in this situation, in which the Vichy government cooperated with the German occupation, a number of French citizens resisted in different ways, some quietly and some more forcefully. Let's take a look now at La Résistance, or the French resistance to Nazi domination, and how they pushed back against the Germans and their Vichy collaborators. So, that gives us an idea of how the resistance movement operated under German occupation. But where did they have their headquarters? Well, one place where resistance activity was centered was the city of Lyon to the south of Paris. In fact, there was so much important resistance activity in Lyon that on the 14th of September 1944, General Charles de Gaulle paid tribute to the city's commitment and proclaimed Lyon the capital of the resistance. Let's take a look at how Lyon played a role in the French resistance now. So, now that we know a bit more about where Lyon is and one reason why it's important in French history, let's talk a bit about how to get there, and once we're there, how to get around.
L'équipe de tournage est en France à quelques kilomètres de Lyon. Il s'arrête sur une aire de repos. Voilà l'équipe de tournage. Alan, le caméraman.
Bonjour.
Isabelle, la journaliste.
Bonjour.
Michael, le preneur de son.
Bonjour.
Et moi-même, Nathalie, la réalisatrice. Nous allons à l'hôtel de la Cité internationale à Lyon. Alors voici la carte.
Oui.
Nous sommes ici, sur l'aire de repos, l'aire de service de Dardilly. Mais trouver l'hôtel est difficile. Alors, je téléphone pour les directions. Bonjour. Nous sommes sur l'aire de Dardilly. La direction pour votre hôtel, s'il vous plaît. Oui, je note. Suivre Lyon Centre. D'accord. Prendre le tunnel de Fourvière. Oui, oui. Oui. Longer le Rhône. Le Rhône. Traverser le pont Winston Churchill. D'accord. Très bien. Et c'est indiqué. La Cité internationale. D'accord? Merci beaucoup. À tout de suite. En route pour l'hôtel de la Cité internationale.
Alors, suivre Lyon Centre.
Oui.
Voilà. Prendre le tunnel de Fourvière.
D'accord.
Voilà, très bien.
Pour l'instant, tout va très bien. Mais les directions sont compliquées.
À droite.
Non, c'est tout droit.
Ah, pardon.
Attends, je demande.
D'accord.
Bonjour monsieur, excusez-moi. La cité internationale, s'il vous plaît.
Alors, cité internationale, oui. Vous prenez tout droit, vous tournez au feu à gauche, vous traversez le pont Winston Churchill et vous suivez les panneaux cité internationale.
Merci.
Pas de quoi? Au revoir.
Regardez, l'hôtel est en face, en fait.
Ah oui? C'est l'hôtel en face.
Ah, parfait, voilà. Cité internationale, à droite.
Oh là là.
Bon, et après le feu, c'est à gauche.
Ah oui. Ah, c'est ici.
C'est facile, hein?
Oui.
Now take a look at some of the vocabulary you've heard in the BBC video. In Chapter 6 of your online textbook, Liste de vocabulaire, and then by scrolling down to S'orienter, getting your bearings. Be sure to listen to the audio file to make sure you have the correct pronunciation of the words. Okay, once you're comfortable with that vocabulary, let's use it to practice a bit. We're going to practice asking and giving directions around the city. Let's take a look at a bit more vocabulary and a small map of the city which we'll use for practice. To ask directions to a particular place, I can start with the phrase où se trouve, and then add whatever place I'm trying to find out. For example, in this map, let's imagine we're asking the question où se trouve le bureau de poste? You can see from the vocabulary here that le bureau de poste is the post office, and if I imagine that I'm at the spot marked X on the map, I could give directions this way. Allez tout droit dans la rue des Maquis, go straight ahead on the rue des Maquis, traversez la rue de la Résistance, cross the rue de la Résistance, traversez l'avenue Charles de Gaulle, cross the avenue Charles de Gaulle, et le bureau de poste se trouve à votre droite, and the post office is on your right. So in these directions, we learned a few important things, most of which you have in your vocabulary list from Chapter 6. Allez tout droit, go straight ahead. Traversez la rue, cross the street. À votre droite, on your right. So let's have you try giving some directions now. I'll show you the map, ask you for directions, and you see if you can give them to me. You might want to have pen and paper handy to write down your answers. Here we go. Où se trouve le supermarché? As you work on your directions, one little hint that will help you. To say turn left or turn right, we use tourner à gauche and tourner à droite. So go ahead. Pause a moment, work on your answer, and when you're done, continue with the video. Okay, did you get something like this? Allez tout droit dans la rue des Traboules, go straight ahead on the rue des Traboules. Tournez à droite dans le boulevard Paul Moulin, turn right on the boulevard Paul Moulin. Traversez la rue des Maquis, cross the rue des Maquis. Tournez à gauche dans la rue des Anglais, turn right on the rue des Anglais. Le supermarché se trouve à votre droite. The supermarket is on your right. Okay, let's do another one. Take a look at the next map and listen for the directions I need. Où se trouve l'hôtel? Pause now and try to give directions from the X. Okay, did you get something like this? Allez tout droit dans la rue des Maquis, traversez la grande rue, tournez à gauche dans la rue des Alliés. L'hôtel se trouve à votre droite. Et voilà! If you were able to pick up those directions, great. If not, go back over the last few minutes of the video and watch again. Okay, now let's try this on a real map of the city of Lyon. Click on the link marked Lyon, which will take you to a map of the city. Then zoom in until you can see not only the red balloon marked A, which will be our starting point, but also this section of the city here, Vieux Lyon or Old Lyon. I'm going to ask you to give me directions from the red point marked A to the Cathédrale Saint-Paul or St. Paul Cathedral, which you can see here. This is indeed Old Lyon, with an architecture that contrasts with that of the more modern part of the city, La Cathédrale Saint-Paul. So when you're ready, use the vocabulary that we've learned here, the vocabulary from Chapter 6, and your map to get directions from the red point marked A to the St. Paul Cathedral. Pause the video, give it a try, and see what you come up with. Okay, did you come up with something like this? Allez tout droit dans la rue Joseph-Serlin, continuez dans la rue de Constantine, tournez à droite sur le quai de la Pêcherie, tournez à gauche sur le pont de la Feuillée, traversez le quai de Bondy, tournez à droite dans la rue du Docteur Augros, tournez à gauche dans la rue Saint-Paul, et la cathédrale se trouve à votre droite. If you came up with directions like these, great. If not, reverse the video and listen to me read them again as you study the map to see where you might have gone wrong. Très bien mes amis, c'est tout. That's all for this segment. À la prochaine.